Almost didn't make it today. Feeling good, feeling great, feeling good. How are you? Welcome into Timeline T. I am your host, the Sam D, aka Sam Jr. This was not supposed to be a stream today. This was not supposed to be a stream today. So, this is going to be an interesting stream. This is going to be an interesting abbreviated stream. I don't anticipate this being one of our normal 3-hour extravaganzas. I don't anticipate this being one of our, marathon streams, but just wanted to tap in. I am fresh off a flight, jet lag, all of that stuff coming from the left coast back to the east coast. So your boy's a little beat up, but when I, finally flipped the airplane mode off, turned the data back on, all the tweets, all the text, all the DMs of people saying, yo, Aaron Rodgers is finally done. You streaming tonight or nah? And I had to navigate and figure it out. But yes, I am here. The usual crew. I'm hoping some of them will pull up. I see Alexandra's in here. I see Boogie Down is in here. So, there's some of the regulars that are pulling up, and I'm very appreciative of them being able to pull up. We also are streaming here on Twitch, if you do that. Trying to see about, expanding the base of where this stream can go, expand the audience potentially. But yeah, I see Boogie Down. Yeah, Boogie Down was not able. I was in the air, bro. I was coming from your coast. I was coming from the left coast back to the east coast. So yeah, there was definitely no stream at our usual 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern time today. But because everything is that came down today, Aaron Rodgers, Ime Udoka, updated mock drafts. I said, all right, I got to be able to touch base. This is a big week for the stream as we're heading into streaming a little watch along Thursday night for round 1 of the NFL draft. So I'm like, no days off. Let's get to it. Jet lag be damned. Left coast to east coast, 3 time zones be damned. Let's see if we could tap in and get off stream. So grateful for those who are pulling up. As usual, y'all know the drill. If you could be so nice to drop a like, whether you're here on YouTube or Twitch. Alexandra, yeah, the Packers made me to stream. I would say just the culmination of how many weeks have we been talking about this alleged deal, proposed deal? When is it going to happen? Me going through back channel, trying to figure out when is this move going to happen? People telling me draft day, leading up to the draft, whatever. Everyone had like a thought process of when this is going to happen. And then they just sneak it out here on a Monday. 3 days before the draft. So yes, the Packers made me stream. We'll see how long the stream goes tonight, but I will be fully prepared back to the regular schedule for the rest of the week, 4 p.m. Eastern, or if you're Boogie Down on the left coast, 1 p.m. Pacific, and all spots in between. Y'all can navigate that as y'all go. But yeah, it's a lot. All right, so look, y'all know what the topic is. Y'all know why we're here. Raj finally comes to MetLife. The Packers turn the page, begin a new chapter. Let's go to the screen. Breaking, not so much anymore, but y'all get the drill. The Green Bay Packers are trading for Aaron Rodgers. They are trading Aaron Rodgers to the New York Jets for the 13th overall pick, a 2nd and 6th round picks in this year's draft, a conditional 2024 2nd round pick, which can become a 1st round pick if Rodgers plays 65% of this year's snaps. Now that's in essence of what the Packers are getting, but the deal in totality is as follows. The Jets get Aaron Rodgers and the 15th overall pick. So I don't know if he's going to pull up, but Lombardi Leap, we've been debating of whether this pick swap at the first round, is that a deal breaker? Is that even really worth it? Apparently it was. So we do get the pick swap in the first round. Rodgers and the 15th overall pick, plus a 5th round pick goes to the Jets. The Packers, as we just broke down, they get to move up 2 spots to the 13th pick. They pocket an additional 2nd and a sixth, and a conditional second that if Aaron Rodgers is healthy and the weapons that the Jets have brought in lying in waiting in vain for him to pull up and be a Jet, if those guys play up to speed, that conditional second round pick will most likely be a first. So potentially 2 first rounders, a second and a sixth for the Green Bay Packers to give up Aaron Rodgers, and a 5th rounder with the pick swap. So a lot going on here, a lot to dissect. There's been a lot of opinions flying on the timeline. A lot of people up. Corey's up in here, so salute to Corey. We have had a long day today, so salute to him for being able to tap in. So I think opinions matter, but I think there's also been a trend of, well, I had this so-and-so ago. I had this X amount of time ago. So Charles Robinson, who we support here, really knows his stuff. A good hard work deal for Rodgers between the Packers and Jets, despite both sides being frustrated at times. And we've been documenting all of that frustration here on Timeline T, despite going back and forth on a lot of different scenarios, most of which ended up in the final deal. Neither side lost their head and broke it off win-win. Now, if you're the Jets, yes, you get Aaron Rodgers, right? He's the key piece. He's everything, right? That pick swap, the pick swap bothers me. I know the deal's done. I'm sure the Jets felt the way too. But again, the Packers had all the leverage. And that's something we've been speaking about here is that, and I think I even did a video on this channel asking, like, is this worth it for the Jets? Because they're going to have to give up. Like, there's really no position for them to take. Like, there's no real position for them to take because the Packers had all the leverage. Aaron wants to retire? Cool. We'll get that, 60 M's a year off the books at some point. We could write that off, dead cap and all that. We good. Oh, you want to play? Fine. Come here. We'll pay you the 60. We'll tinker with the team to see whatever we can do, and so be it. Oh, you really want to go? Fine. We got Jordan Love. It's about to be his 4th year anyway. It's about time we hand him the keys. Cool. So there was no rush for Green Bay. The only way you can really say there was a rush is in the sense of, well, if you want that first round pick in this upcoming draft, you need to make things happen so you know how to navigate, how to go about getting this deal done before Thursday so we're in line at 13 instead of 15. Now, in essence, this still could have went down on draft day, but the fact that they get it out the way now they can reorganize their chart, reorganize their big board, and the other teams can now act accordingly. Now that puts things up to speed. But if you're the Jets, you really had no choice but to just give it up. Sometimes you got to take your medicine. You want the hot girl, you're going to have to do what she wants. You're not in a position of power to be able to stand your ground and act like you're the prize. You're not the prize, Jets. Aaron Rodgers is the prize. So therefore, it's dinner and a movie. Therefore, you're paying for everything. You're trying to curry her favor because you're trying to get everything. You're trying to get everything to go right so you can get the girl. Aaron Rodgers in this scenario is the girl, and the Jets had to wine and dine the Packers. And that included that pick swap, which to me is a lot, especially when you're looking at this could be a one and done. This could be a 2 and done. And now there's scenarios, and we'll get to it. We'll get to it in a bit here, but we could, because I got a whole bunch of tabs open in regards to what people are saying. But now there's a low-key contingency plan with Zach Wilson learning at the knee of Aaron Rodgers. When have we seen a quarterback learn at the knee of Aaron Rodgers? When have we ever seen Aaron Rodgers be open to showing a quarterback the ropes? So now we're supposed to believe Aaron Rodgers is going to tutor, is going to mentor, is going to pass down the game to Zach Wilson? Is that a narrative that we're going to get here? Because it's already started. So I find it to be a lot that the Jets had to give up, but I feel they were in no position to say no. Because again, if they were to back out of this, if the pick swap was going to be the thing that broke this deal, what were the Jets going to do? There was no way they can go back to Zach Wilson week 1. And there's no quarterback on the market. And I know we love talking about Lamar, but that's not in play here because if you know the owner of the Jets, that was never going to be an option. So the fact of the matter is that this was Aaron Rodgers or bust. The bust option was not really an option. Once you've done all of this, once you've brought in McCole Hardman, once you've brought in Allen Lazard, once you've tinkered with this roster, getting the additional second-round pick because you know you're most likely going to have to give up one of those second-round picks in a deal for Aaron Rodgers. Once you make all these contingency plans, you understand that, oh, yeah, we kind of have to do this no matter what way. So getting back to this Charles Robinson thing, someone got into the replies and was saying this seems like a massive overpay. And this is something that we just talked about. Like, what leverage did Green Bay have? I think that's opposite. What leverage did New York have? But this person's asking about what leverage did Green Bay have? And then Charles Robinson goes on to explain. It's not an overpay. It's significantly less than where the Packers started. Packers got the pick flip as a bonus. So again, the Jets had to wine and dine the Packers. And this is what I was speaking about. That pick swap to me was like, woo, you had no choice, but I didn't feel that was necessary. I mean, a few weeks ago, we were talking about maybe just give up the 2 second-rounders. The fact that the Jets had 2 second-rounders, 42 and 43, just give up those 2 and you'll be fine. Maybe an additional conditional second that could turn into a first, like they ended up giving up anyway. Maybe that could have been the first. But the fact that they had to give up a first here, the pick swap, and one of those seconds, and still have to do the conditional second, which will most likely be a first, that's a lot. That's a lot for a guy that you might get for only 1 season. That is a lot. So he goes on to say, but the second in 2024 is not a straight first, which we know is conditional, which is a win for the Jets. Is it really a win for the Jets? Rodgers plays 65% of the snaps. Jets are going to wager. Their record is going to be pretty good. So basically he's saying, even if it's still a win for the Jets because you're not giving up what you would feel is a high first. Because if Rodgers is playing 65% of his snaps, then you're assuming the Jets are going to have a good enough record so that it's going to be a 20 to 30 pick range for that first round pick, for that conditional second that would turn into a first. But if the Jets somehow tank this season, Rodgers gets hurt, done for the year, maybe he walks away, retires, ayahuasca, whatever the case may be, if that happens and he plays less than the 65% of the snaps and the Jets tank, okay, we still keep our first, which could be, in the teens or higher. And then all we got to do is give up a potential high second round pick. So we still could get to replenish. They could be in the Caleb Williams sweepstakes next year. So it's like, that's where you would position it as a win. It's a win-win in that particular piece, right? So in that case, yes. But I really think this was a absolute layup of a deal for the Packers because they had all the cards. Rodgers could retire. Rodgers could come back and play, or we can trade you because we know we got Jordan Love. And while we certainly have our feelings as a chat, as a stream, as a community on Jordan Love, and we all been very vocal about it, the fact of the matter is that they could get that off to their fan base, and the majority of their fan base will co-sign. Like, oh, okay, yeah, we do got Jordan Love. Let's see. Let me head to the chat. Boogie down. Jets got fleeced. A-Rod finna check out mentally halfway through the season. His mind already on retirement. I mean, he's admitted as such. What they said, he was 90% retired before he went on that darkness retreat. So yeah, to your point, Rodgers has almost more than likely confirmed that. Alexandra, thank you for pulling up, Alexandra. He's going to discount double check out on the Jets. Wow, you guys are really going in. You guys don't think Aaron is even going to finish the year? That would be so Jet-like. As someone that grew up here, this is bigger than them getting Favre. Like the Favre thing was like, oh, he's old. We're not sure what's left, but hey, he's still better than anything we've ever had. This is more than that. Like Aaron Rodgers is not a year removed from being a back-to-back MVP. Like you're bringing in what you would assume is still a top 5 QB. Now, we can have our debates as to who's really top 5 and so on and so forth, but in theory, a lot of the experts, analysts, pundits, whatever, blue check, oh, well, no, they took the blue check away for some of them, but the sports media would argue that he's still a top 5, top 10 player. You're bringing that type of guy in, that's going to be something that's going to be viewed by the fan base as a humongous win, and you do it at all costs. And when you look at this deal with what the Jets have had to give up, which I feel is a lot, especially with the pick swap in the first round, yeah, they went all in. They put all their chips in the table, and now it's all about getting Rodgers healthy, making sure that these pieces that they've put around him, I don't know who else is going to be on this wish list. Does Mercedes Lewis now pop up? Does Randall Cobb now pull up? Now that this deal seems to be finally official, what does this mean for Aaron Rodgers' boys who are now still technically in Green Bay? Don't know. Alexander, the Packers relying on Jordan Love. I mean, yeah. And here's the scary part, Alexandra. If they do this draft right, they can still win this division. That's how weird and hard to handicap that the NFC North is, in my opinion. I don't think the NFC North is like out here just, I don't think the Vikings are that good. The Bears, it's a wait and see. A lot of things have to gel. The Lions are like the sleeping giant with all the talent that they have. But now with Jameson getting caught up in this gambling thing, he's going to miss the beginning of the year. So the Packers could, in theory, if they draft right, and that's why we'll get to the updated mock drafts. And there's some interesting mock drafts that have been, put out there since this Rodgers deal has come out, where if they play this right, there could be a really top tier receiving target available at 13. Now, will they do that? Or will they go O-line? We don't know. But there's some mock drafts that are suggesting that with Jordan Love, the receivers they've been drafting over the last couple of years that, splashed last year with Aaron Rodgers, if they can add one more weapon to that, this offense could not necessarily be at peak Aaron Rodgers, but certainly could be up to snuff to where they can be competitive in that division. There's the NFC North, no one's going to run away and hide in that division, in my opinion. No one's going to run away and hide. I don't see it. It could happen potentially, but I just do not see it. I do not. So we'll move on. But here's the question of the night. And y'all can lead us here in the chat live, or if you're catching this on the replay, thanks to Warren Sharp here at Sharp Football. How many wins for the Jets? And this is the roster we're talking about. Rodgers at QB. Garrett Wilson as your number 1. Alan Lazard as your number 2. McCall Hardman as your slot guy, number 3. Corey Davis, it remains to be seen if he is still on this roster come week 1, but let's assume he is. They have dual threat tight ends in Conklin and Uzuma. And we're assuming if Breece Hall, if the knee is good, and he tweeted that the knee feels a lot better today than it did yesterday, hint, hint, wink, wink. So we have Breece Hall, and then you have Michael Carter, and potentially the 15th overall pick, which also could be used on a weapon for this offense. Or maybe they fortify the O-line. Who knows? So how many wins do you see for the New York Jets? Let me know in the chat. Live, if you're catching this on the replay, let me know in the comments. And while we're at it, how many wins for the Packers? Because now this is the revamped Green Bay Packers. Jordan Love, Christian Watson, who now is the clear-cut number one. And these receivers, this is where the problem is. And you could even go tight end and say this is where the problem is. We know they got running backs for days, but with that 13th pick, there's a lot of things in play here. Could this be a JSN spot if he falls? If he gets by the Texans at 12, is JSN a thing at 13? Now you're putting Christian Watson with JSN at pick 13 as your number 2 guy. Now Jordan Love's got a lot of things to work with. He's going to have a good running game with Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. He's got at least one good receiver. I don't know if I would put Christian Watson as a true number 1, but for on this team right now, he's the number 1. And if you could get a JSN, Jackson Smith, and Jigba at 13, now this offense is formidable. It's a balanced offense. Maybe you could go Michael Mayers here at 13. I know we've been yelling y'all been yelling at me in the chat that you don't take tight ends in the first round, but looking at what they have, looking at what the Packers have, and more importantly, what they lack, would you not want to consider that? Or would you just rather see what's available with those second round picks and go from there? And this is what I'm talking about. And even people are breaking it down. They're saying like they look like they need some receiving and tight end help once you break down this depth chart. Because Jordan Love, that's a huge question mark, right? Huge question mark for your man's Jordan Love. No idea what's going to happen there. You know, Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon, to me, that's green because it's a go. It's a go. I think it's a green when it comes to Christian Watson. But in terms of these other dudes, these are all, let me get the right shape here. These are all questions. I don't know nothing about it. I don't trust it. Blue is question mark. Red, to me, for Jordan Love is I'm not co-signing yet. No, that's not the shape I wanted. But you know what I'm saying. So Jordan Love, he gets the red because it's like, I'm not sure, but I won't believe it till I see it. We do know they have a run game, right? A.J. Jones and A.J. Dillon, Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon both can tote the rock. But then once you get down here outside of Watson, these dudes, I don't know, man. I don't know. Like, I think they are in clear need. And then we get down to the tight end. Like, yes, they need receiver help and tight end help. Letting Alan Lazard go left a gap for that number 2 slot. We're assuming Watson is going to be the number 1 guy by default. But losing Alan Lazard, assuming Randall Cobb's not going to be there, now there's a real lack of depth on this Packer wide receiver depth chart. So this is where JSN, if he's there at pick 13, then that's why the pick swap might have been imperative to the Packers. Because now it's about how can we help Jordan Love? It's not about Aaron Rodgers throwing to these young guys and throwing them open and trusting them. Now it's about we need to rebuild this whole thing on the fly. Jordan Love has to figure out what type of QB is he. Is he a game manager? Is he an improv guy? Is he a pocket guy? None of us can truly know because we just haven't seen him. Haven't seen him enough to make our mind up. So it's going to be interesting to see how that goes. But the Packers are in flux. But this is about the Jets. The Jets think they are going all in. They think this is it. This is their time to shine. But get down. It depends on the schedule. You have the schedule for the Jets this year. We did have, let me come off the screen here. We did have the strength of schedule for the Jets. I don't know if we had the actual, like, the week by week. That has not been released yet. But we did have a loose breakdown of, let me see. Give me a sec. Jets strength of schedule. And I appreciate y'all pulling up. Clearly, this is a late stream. Maybe not for Boogie Down since he's on the left coast. But Alexandra, I appreciate you pulling up. Corey, I appreciate you pulling up because I know you was also traveling today. So Appreciate y'all being here. So here's the strength of schedule, Boogie Down. And again, this is just based, let me see, and I can't, I guess let me go down there. Yeah, this is based off of Vegas forecasted win total. So we went through this about a week or so ago, and you see how the AFC and the NFC South is heavily representative here as having easy schedules. The Saints have the easiest projected schedule as of now, right? So where are the Jets? They're on the harder side, pause. And it's, they have, we would say, the 7th hardest schedule. Eighth hardest schedule as of right now. Now, again, we don't know how that's going to break down in terms of week by week, but just in terms of their forecasted opponents, they have the 8th hardest strength of schedule. But that's that whole division. And that's why maybe having an Aaron Rodgers has you in the mix, and maybe you could steal a couple of games that you wouldn't have if you had a Mike White or a Zach Wilson. Because you look, Patriots right now have the hardest projected strength of schedule. Then the Bills are right behind them. Then 2 spots behind them is the Dolphins. So amongst AFC East teams, the Jets have the easiest schedule amongst their division. But overall, that entire division is going to have the hardest schedule. You see it here in regards to the AFC West and AFC East, but the AFC West only has the Vegas Raiders and the Chiefs and the Chargers. So again, you're looking at the AFC West and the AFC East have the hardest schedules, but as of right now, before the draft, and before, other moves are made, other potential trades are made as of right now, the AFC East has the hardest schedule this upcoming year. So that's going to be a thing to navigate as well. That's going to play a part of this schedule. Are they going to have, a stretch of 3 straight road games? Are they going to have a stretch of having to have, back and forth cross-country flights? That's a real thing. As someone that just did a cross-country flight today, that shit takes a lot out of you. So that's where we're at now, right? Can they navigate this difficult schedule as of right now? So that's kind of where we're at. More reaction from this. Mina Kimes, who unfortunately had someone in the comments, I had to get them up out of here. Not on the live, but on one of the clips from the stream last week. They were just discrediting Mina Kimes, but they were discrediting her by showing how clearly little they know about Mina Kimes. I don't know if it's the fact that Mina Kimes is a woman. I don't know if it's the fact that she's an Asian woman. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but the person just seemed to be so ignorant to what Mina Kimes offers. But let's get into the analysis of this Packer thing a little deeper. The pick swap in the first round this year is not insignificant. Green Bay needs a pass catcher. She said pass catcher, so that means wide receiver or tight end. Okay? New England needs a pass catcher or offensive tackle. Again, pass catcher could mean wide receiver or tight end. And now that they have their quarterback and they've made some moves to get receivers, under Mina's assumptions, she thinks the biggest need for the Jets is offensive tackle. So at pick 15 now, will the Jets be able to get a significant difference maker for the offensive line, specifically at tackle, at pick 15? Now you see this here. New England needs pass catcher or offensive tackle, and it's become a running joke here on the stream, but we have only seen Joey Porter Jr. being projected to be drafted to the New England Patriots at pick 14. Even though someone with the acumen of Mina Kimes is out here saying the Patriots need a pass catcher or help on the O-line. But yet and still, the majority of drafts I've seen have had Joey Porter Jr. going to the Patriots at 14. Like it's become a running joke on this stream. So with that, let's take a look at some mock drafts. We'll go first to one of the 3-letter networks, And let's see. We got Bryce Young here at 1 to the Panthers. CJ Stroud goes second to Houston still. And this is a recent draft, okay? This is a recent mock draft. They're still saying this is one of the few that is putting out CJ Stroud finding his way to 2. It's not going with the pejorative that we saw last week where allegedly the Texans are going to go defense with the number 2 pick and not a quarterback and not CJ Stroud. At 3, this is a bit of a shakeup because now we have Tyree Wilson, the edge rusher out of Texas Tech, going at 3 to the Cardinals. So there was a lot of smoke about, Will Anderson being the first edge rusher, although I don't think he's an edge rusher true and through, but it's been a lot of noise about him being the first edge guy off the board. Now we have a mock draft saying Tyree Wilson is the guy that goes off the board first from the edge spot, number 3 to the Cardinals. Now we have the enigma spot of number 4. Anthony Richardson at 4 to the Colts. This 4th spot has been a lot. There's been some smoke about a CJ Stroud smear campaign. I will have a clip dropping tomorrow about that. We spoke about that at length on the live streams last week on Timeline T, right here on the Sam D YouTube channel. And it was interesting to say the least, but we have a mock draft that's putting it out there. Anthony Richardson going 4. Will Anderson slides the 5, and I use slide in a very conservative manner because it's not really a slide. Will Anderson Jr. going 5 to the Seahawks. Remember, the Seahawks have multiple first-round picks. Lions get Jalen Carter at 6. Jalen Carter, who about 3 weeks ago was off a lot of teams' big board, allegedly, because of his lethargic pro day performance. And also when you tap into the fact of the off-the-field incident that involved the death of one teammate, and the woman was part of the staff. So Jalen Carter somehow finding his way back into the top 10. He's been in an enigma. He's been the guy with, every draft, it seems to be a guy that has off-the-field issues. Now, coming into this, before that incident, I don't recall of any other off-the-field issues, but since then, he had this incident with the DUI and the drunk driving that involved 2 deaths. And then the lethargic pro day. That was extremely problematic to those in the know. And now we have Jalen Carter still somehow, some way, even though allegedly he was off a lot of teams' big boards, including a number of teams in the top 10 big boards he was off of, still somehow, some way finding his way up to number 6. Now the Raiders here with Will Levis on the board do not go quarterback and go Devin Witherspoon. There's been a lot of talk about that. Which one do you have, Witherspoon or Gonzalez? You could flip them, however you want. Some people favor Witherspoon. Some people favor Gonzalez. Tomato. In my opinion, I don't think either one is clear head and shoulders over the other. I do think there's a slight bit of upside, more so with Gonzalez than Witherspoon, but I do like the physicality of Witherspoon. So it depends on what scheme you have. If you want to do a lot of press, maybe some old school bump and run, I think Witherspoon is the guy there. If you want to do a lot of things that just goes with a lot of coverage, playing in space, things of that nature, drop coverage and whatnot, I think you go Gonzalez, but it's all a guessing game, to be quite honest with you. And with the 9th pick, the Chicago Bears take someone who I have not really seen be the consensus number 1 offensive tackle. Paris Jones, and it says it here, Paris Johnson Jr. has been the guy on a lot of draft boards being the first tackle off the board. Have the Bears, though, going with the Georgia sophomore, Broderick Jones, to anchor the offensive tackle spot. And this right here is what I would love to talk about. Because we also spoke about last week at length on this stream about Bijan Robinson. And I said on this stream last week, if the Eagles were in a position to get Bijan, mail them the Lombardi. Yeah, I said they need a running back. Mal Sanders is gone. And the fact that, you have Boston Scott and Gainwell, those guys can be serviceable, but the dynamic playmaking ability of a Bijan to go with Jalen Hurts, who just got the bag. And if you want more information on Jalen Hurts, I got a clip from last week's live stream about Jalen Hurts and the funny money surrounding that contract. So if you want to tap into that, you can go ahead and do that. Bijan Robinson, though, as a top 10 pick, for a league that is devaluing the running back position, to be able to now have Bijan Robinson go as a top 10 overall pick, that is not only surprising, but I am here for it. I think Bijan Robinson has all the skill set and talent deserving of a top 10 pick. And I'm just glad that an organization that isn't afraid to just do the right thing, like the Eagles, like when they had Jordan Davis sitting there and they're like, no, we're just going to take him. Yes, we got Fletcher Cox. Yes, we got a whole bunch of D-line guys. But no, you don't just let Jordan Davis go by. So I think this is that type of spot. I actually think they would do the same thing if Jalen Carter was somehow there. If Jalen Carter was somehow at 10, I think they would take Jalen Carter at 10. It would be a tough thing to choose between Bijan and Jalen Carter. You probably go Bijan. He's more of a need. But if either one of those guys were there, I have all the faith in Philly to just do the smart thing and take the most talented player on the board. And now the Titans, who were thought to be moving up the 3, and they're trying to move up the 3, and I believe I have a mock draft that does have them moving up the 3. They're trying to fill out their offensive line. They got rid of Taylor Lewan and got his contract off the books, got some dead cap money sitting there. But in regards to them fortifying the old line with Skronsky, he's a guy that's been mentioned. But where is Paris Johnston? Smith and Jigma at 12. So you have the Texans walking away here with CJ Stroud and JSN, Jackson Smith and Jigba. And then you have the Packers with the 13th pick taking Zay Flowers. Now, Zay's been a guy we've talked about here. It hasn't been always the best of reports for Zay Flowers. There's been a lot of people in the chat that are pro Zay Flowers, but there have been some Zay Flower naysayers also in the chat. So he's been a little polarizing. But for the 13th pick for the Packers to be able to rebuild here on the fly with Zay Flowers. Now, I'm still a Quentin Johnston guy. That's just me, though. But I can understand the rationale with going Zay Flowers. And then we have Paris Johnston. Finally, a mock draft that doesn't have Joey Porter Jr. to the New England Patriots. So Paris Johnston Jr., who was thought to be the #1 offensive tackle prospect in this draft, sliding down to the 3rd offensive tackle off the board at pick 14. And then the Jets with their pick swap with the Aaron Rodgers trade, go offensive tackle. They do not go receiver or tight end. They go offensive line with Darnell Wright. So that's one mock draft. I'll speed through a couple others here. Peter King released one on NBC, and he has Bryce Young going to Carolina. He has Tyree Wilson going to Houston. There's a lot of conversations here. D'Amico Ryans is definitely a factor here in terms of them choosing to go defense over offense with that potential 2nd overall pick. And now here is the trade. Tennessee trading up from 11 to get to 3 to take C.J. Stroud. What they had to give up, no mention of that here. But then Indy now gets Will Levis. So we've seen a mock draft where they have taken Anthony Richardson, and now we have a mock draft, Peter King saying, nope, he thinks they do Kentucky quarterback Will Levis. Jalen Carter goes 5 to Seattle. We've seen him go 6. Detroit then takes Will Anderson at 6. Pair him with Hutchinson. That could be a very formidable D-line very quickly in Detroit. Vegas, Witherspoon. Gonzalez must be slipping, or either Witherspoon is just rising, however you want to categorize it. Atlanta with Bijan. That's interesting. I haven't heard any smoke about Bijan Robinson going to the Falcons, but that's something we see here. Paris Johnston, the consensus #1 overall offensive tackle, goes to Chicago. Nolan Smith, edge rusher, to Philly. Because now Bijan's off the board, right? Bijan's off the board. Jalen Carter is off the board. So if you're sitting there at 10 and you're Philly, you work on that edge because you know you got Brandon Graham, Hassan Reddick, so on and so forth. All right, we'll bring in another young guy that can come in here and learn. So again, you have Jordan Davis from Georgia last year. Now you're bringing another guy from the D-line over there in Georgia with Nolan Smith. So whether it's Jalen Carter or Nolan Smith, getting that cohesion of being able to import basically the Georgia D-line into the NFL, very impressive job if the Eagles able to get that off. Now, Arizona trading back to 11 in the deal for Tennessee to go up there and get C.J. Stroud. They get Gonzalez, who slides to 11. It's the furthest I've seen him slide. And then here's where things get shaken up. Hendon Hooker, 12 to Houston, not Anthony Richardson. So with their second first-round pick, the second pick, they take Tyree Wilson, edge rusher, and with the 12th pick, with JSN on the board, they go Hendon Hooker out of Tennessee. And then the Jets, well, this doesn't include the trade here, so Peter King needs to update that. So yeah, we'll skip past that. But it does have Green Bay taking Dalton Kincaid, so not Myers. Myers would not be the first tight end off the board. I wonder if they would still take Kincaid at 13. Because obviously with the trade, this is now a swap. 13 Jets is now 15. 15 Green Bay is now 13 Jets. So that's that. And we got one last one here for you. We'll make this one quick. Bryce Young, Carolina. Will Anderson. This is pretty chalk. Raiders in a projected trade with the Cardinals slide up to 3 to take C.J. Stroud. So much for Brady Quinn's smear campaign. Will Levis with the Colts. Tyree at 5. We've seen that a lot. Devin Witherspoon, we've seen that a lot, especially after the Oduka trade. Now with the Cardinals trading back, they take Gonzalez at 7. That would be an interesting pick to me. I'm not sure if I go back from 3 to 7, that 7th pick would be a corner if I'm the Cardinals, but yeah, it's the Cardinals. The Falcons take an edge rusher, Nolan Smith. Bears getting Jalen Carter. The Bears would be absolutely tickled if Jalen Carter would be sitting there at 9. The Eagles take Paris Johnson Jr., even though they could go Bijan here. Titans get to sit at 11 and just scoop up Anthony Richardson. Unfortunately, there's no Jim Caldwell in that front office to help fix those mechanics like he would have if he would have went number 1 overall to the Panthers, but so be it. The Texans now get JSN, Jackson Smith and Jigba. So they get Will Anderson and JSN with their 2 first-round picks. Now with the updated trade where the Packers are at 13, they go Miles Murphy off the edge. So again, JSN is here. JSN's available. And we just talked about Mina Kimes out here saying that the Packers could use a pass catcher, yet and still, they go edge. Patriots go offensive line with Skoronski. We're finally getting some mock drafts that don't have Joey Porter Jr. going to the Patriots. And then the Jets sitting at 15 now go offensive lineman, even though, according to Mina Kimes, whose opinion we trust here, she said they need offensive tackle. Because clearly now with Aaron Rodgers, they've made a lot of, reservations in terms of fixing the wide receiver. So don't need to go wide receiver here. But this is interesting. This does not have JSN going. Oh, no. JSN goes 12. Okay. So Quinn Johnson seems to be falling. Zay Flowers at 18. Chiefs trade up to get Zay Flowers. Zay Flowers, does he have? He's small like Tyreek Hill. He's not muscular, pause, like Tyreek though. But can he deliver that same big play ability? I don't recall his speed being that, but maybe. Bijan to Tampa. Alexandra will be happy with that. Joey Porter Jr. slide all the way to 21. And Deonte Banks, cornerback, goes to Baltimore. Baltimore does that. Oof. The chat will be on fire for round 1 of the NFL draft. So, Y'all see the differences in the mock drafts there. Appreciate those who've been able to pull up. I know this was like an impromptu chat, impromptu stream, fresh off the flight. We catch flights, not feelings. But let's see. Let's get into Mr. Nia Long. Mr. Nia Long is back in the National Basketball Association. So when we're talking about Mr. Nia Long, we're talking about Ime Udoka. He has agreed to a deal to become the next Houston Rockets head coach. And if you don't know about Houston, let me just inform you. If you're familiar with what Ime Udoka got in trouble for up in Boston and allegedly, possibly, potentially in Brooklyn prior, you don't want him in Houston. I don't know what that man gonna do in Houston. I guess at this point, I don't know if him and Nia Long are, I know there was a report that they were broken up. I don't know if that was ever corroborated. If he's single, then there's no worries, right? As long as he's not harassing, which there were some whispers of maybe some potential harassment allegedly between him and some staff members in Boston. So if he's single, if they're single, then, you know, maybe kind of sort of that's where that goes. And he could live his true self. He doesn't have to hide anything. He doesn't have to do any of that type of stuff. But if he's still with Nia Long, you cannot accept this job and go to Houston, bruh. You cannot accept this job and go to Houston. So I wish him all the best. We will definitely dive more into this on tomorrow's stream. But yeah, I think it's really, really hella problematic for him, if he is still with Nia Long, to be out here and taking a job in Houston. He could have went to Toronto. Nick Nurse is out in Toronto, although Toronto's not. No, Toronto's got some spots. God damn, he needed a city. He needs Cleveland he needs the Knicks to put Cleveland out their misery, and then he could have went to Cleveland. Not to say that there's nothing nice in Cleveland. There's some nice things in Cleveland, but I'm sorry. It's about, quantity at this point. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's quantity and quality in Houston and Toronto over a spot like Cleveland. So, Ime is, I don't know why. I don't know why he took this job. If he's single, I know exactly why he took this job. Plus, allegedly, James Harden is going to spin the block. No matter what happens with the Sixers, I would assume outside of a championship, he's going to find his way back to Houston. At least that's what all the tea is, right? But Ime, Mr. Nia Long, why would you ever take a job in Houston? If you're trying to get Nia back, if you're writing that off and it's a wrap and you're just going to co-parent, cool. But if you're actually trying to win back the favor of Nia Long, there's no worse place than to put yourself in Houston. Like, what? Yikes. Yikes, yikes, yikes. I feel for bruh. I feel for him. I truly do. All right, let me bounce around here a little bit. Let me see what's going on. Okay, I see the fact that we're good here on Twitch as well, so I see that. Cool. All right. All right, so now that we got that figured out, okay. Just wanted to make sure we're doing multi-streams. We're live here on YouTube, live on Twitch. I don't think Kick and Twitch play along, so we weren't able to go live on Kick and Twitch at the same time. That might be a good thing. I think I like Kick a little more, but we'll see. We'll see. But just wanted to make sure that that works. This is a quick stream. This is just me hopping in here because, we missed the regular scheduled stream because of flights. But I appreciate the likes as they come in. I appreciate everyone being able to tap in. This was an impromptu stream. Boogie Down, I see you. Hopefully you saw the part with the Jets schedule, or at least the makeup of what the schedule potentially could be. Boogie down in the comments, in the chat. I'm not surprised Peter King thinks Will Levis goes that high. Peter King loves him some QBs that lack melanin. I'm not going to say he's wrong. I'm just going to say I think in this case, if CJ and Bryce are off the board, I think he knows Jim Irsay's just not going to take Anthony Richardson. I think he just knows that. Even though there was a mock that we had here that said, let me see, was it? Yeah, even though, the three of the network, keep one eye open, like insert network here, they're saying Anthony Richardson, but I didn't see that from anybody else. Peter King is giving it for. Let's see why he thinks Will Levis. All right, I don't believe the Colts will trade to 2, so let's put a kibosh on that. This one has risen up over the last week or so, and I've heard so much that I'm not sure at all what to believe. Seems way too high for Levis, and I will not be stunned if Roger Goodell announces to Anthony Richardson here. Levis's IQ and football IQ are both strong, and that appeals to the Colts. He's a favorite of the Mannings. So now again, this is where we have to, highlight certain things and make sure we're tapping in and make sure I get this right. He's a favorite of the Mannings. Okay? Y'all all see that, right? Favorite of the Mannings. Now, people have come on here and have tried to talk about how Peyton and Irsay have had a falling out. And I've just been kind of like, yeah, that's cool, but bruh, he got a statue out front of that building. They still sell them 18 Manning jerseys in the team store at Lucas Oil. Like, whether they have a falling out or not, he can always put the call in. And we talked about this CJ Stroud and his smear campaign, alleged smear campaign last week, and how CJ Stroud, blew off or ghosted the Manning Passing Academy, and how that could lead to Peyton, Eli, Cooper, Archie, whoever, putting the call in the air, say like, yo, I don't know if you want to trade up to try to get this CJ, or if CJ falls, I don't know if you want to do that at 4 either. So maybe look at your man's Will Levis. But here we have Peter King, who is very tied into the Mannings, by the way. He's a favorite of the Mannings. And that appeals to the Colts, though an overrated factor in the public's mind. But see, that's why this stuff matters. Peter King is a real insider. He's got real ties to these organizations, to these agents, to these players. He's a favorite of the Mannings, speaking of Will Levis, and that appeals to the Colts. So again, we've had people come on this stream and try to say that Irsay and Manning don't really rock with each other as they used to. That could be true. Maybe there's something to that. I personally have not heard that. And working there for Final Fours, working there covering games with the Colts, there's too many Manning jerseys in that building. There's too many Manning jerseys still being sold. There's a damn statue of the man outside Lucas Oil. So to me, I just can't see the Mannings not being able to put a call into the Irsays and be like, yo, that CJ Stroud dude, I wouldn't do it. That Will Levis dude, maybe that's the move. We like him, as opposed to CJ, who ghosted us on our passing academy. So that to me is why the smear campaign for CJ Stroud carried a lot of weight, with Brady Quinn out here putting the narrative out there about CJ Stroud and the fact that he ghosted the Manning Passing Academy, when we had Ryan Clark, Bucky Brooks, who else? Was it Honey Badger or somebody else? Jalen Ramsey. A lot of guys came to the defense of CJ Stroud like, yo, what are y'all talking about? So it's not surprising that Will Levis is potentially in the mix here for the Colts, as opposed to Anthony Richardson and as opposed to CJ Stroud if he were to be there. And we go on with Peter King's thoughts. And the Colts, it seems, have to pick Levis or Richardson to get off the quarterback a year merry-go-round. Now, this is referring to if we want to keep going back. We know last year they had Matt Ryan. The year before it was Carson Wentz. The year before that it was Phillip Rivers. So ever since Andrew Luck walked out that door and never came back, it's been a bunch of old one-and-dones, washed mid QBs pulling up to Lucas Oil, trying to ski mask their way through a season. Now it's time to debt all of that and make it happen with a true QB of the future. Now, whether that's Will Levis or Anthony Richardson, we'll find out together here on this stream on Thursday night. But in regards to right now, you have Peter King, who has the insight, who has the sources, who has the acumen to be able to give us that either one of these guys is going to be the pick. But if he has to put his 10 toes down, right now he's going with Will Levis. So at least boogie down. We have Peter King saying it could also be Anthony Richardson here. He's not necessarily saying that it shouldn't be Anthony Richardson. So, you know, to your point, maybe Peter King has seen the light of day. You know, it wouldn't surprise me if Coach Shane Steichen, I think that's how that's pronounced, leaned Richardson and used Gardner Minshew or Nick Foles as a 2020 interim while getting Richardson ready for 2024. This will be an interesting pivot point of the draft. And Levis going here would leave Seattle and Detroit smiling widely at picks 5 and 6. So Anthony Richardson is in play. Even though, according to Peter King, he's more leaning towards Will Levis being the pick for the Colts, this doesn't mean that he likes Will Levis more so than Anthony Richardson. He's just saying from the intel that he has collected, he thinks the pick will be Will Levis for the Colts and not Anthony Richardson, but he would not be shocked or surprised if Anthony Richardson is indeed the pick here. So that's where we go. That's where we go. All right. So where else can we go? I will do one last quick check of the timeline. If there's anything. If not, we will roll up out of here. There's some stories I was going to talk about tonight, just in case I needed some time to fill. But your boy, fresh off flights, nah. We'll save it for tomorrow. So yeah, let's go ahead and if you haven't hit the like, just tap that like, please. I do appreciate that. If you could do that on the way out. But appreciate those who were able to tap in. I know this was an abbreviated stream. This stream normally takes place Monday through Friday from 4 p.m. Eastern until sometimes it's an hour, sometimes it's 3 hours, whatever the case may be. On Thursday for the first round of the draft, it'll be the entire first round. So what's that? No, like 4-ish hours, something like that. Could be 5 hours, who knows? So we'll be here together as a community. The chat will be buzzing. You know, I'm trying to work on maybe getting some people to pull up and maybe join in and give their analysis while the draft is going on. We're working on some things here. So we want to make sure Timeline T covers this draft in a very dynamic way. So I appreciate those who've been able to pull up. If you're new here, you can hit the like on the video, or you can subscribe to the channel. If you're watching this on Twitch, salute. Instead of doing all that bits and all that stuff, I have a tip jar link in the description. If you could tap into that, I would greatly appreciate it. I get to see more of that, to be quite honest with you, than Twitch taking half of all the bread and all that. So yeah, that's always hit the tip jar link instead of all the usual little stuff and bells and whistles they got over there on Twitch. But anyway, I will be here again tomorrow, 4 p.m. Eastern time. So 1 p.m. if you're on the East, or if you're on the West, like Boogie Down and all spots in between, you can figure that up. Central, Mountain, all that stuff is not that hard. 4 p.m. Eastern, I'm here. Wherever that is for you there, I'll see you tomorrow. Timeline T, I am the Sam D. Talk to y'all tomorrow. Peace.